Why should we keep our lives somewhat private? Why shouldn't we share everything with everyone? And what benefits does this have for us? Because uncontrolled sharing can cause much more harm than you might think. Granting permission to interfere. First, I want to say this. Everything you share is like giving the people around you permission to interfere. Think of your life as a private country. As you share that life, you are unknowingly saying to the other side, "Come, enter my borders." You don't do this consciously, but manipulative, boundaryless, difficult people perceive this situation as a visa granted to them. You're talking about something related to your marriage. You bring up a topic related to your family. You're sharing a detail about your past or your work. And suddenly, people start commenting relentlessly. While you're expecting support, hoping for empathy, you realize you're being judged, criticized, even treated unfairly. This really drags you down. That's why I recommend you think twice before sharing the private parts of your life, seeking support and after. For example, imagine you are experiencing difficulties with your mother. You say, "My mother didn't love me," or "She couldn't love me." You tell a friend or someone else that this is a childhood trauma. One day, someone might come up to you and say, "Your mother didn't love you anyway. That's where your problems come from." Sometimes, it's much better to keep it a secret to avoid hearing this. Dream killers. Another important topic, dreams. We all have dreams. I do, for example. I have dreams that keep me going and motivate me. But if you're someone who tells everyone about your dreams and projects, know this. There are definitely dream killers around you. The moment you share your dream, they start telling you why it won't come true. Insistently, in great detail. And before you know it, you find yourself trying to prove yourself. Even if you say, "I'm not affected," after listening to a few people's arguments, your belief in your dreams diminishes, your self-confidence is shaken, and you start to feel inadequate. That's why it's beneficial to keep your dreams and projects secret. There's also this. It's said that people who talk about their dreams a lot are less likely to achieve them. Because when you talk about them, your brain experiences a temporary sense of satisfaction. Because you experience that feeling, your desire to take action to make your dream a reality diminishes. That's why I recommend quietly nurturing your dreams. Wounds that haunt us in the future. We face difficulties in our personal lives. You may have experienced workplace bullying. You may have come close to being fired. You may have been cheated on in your marriage, but forgiven. You may have come to the brink of divorce, but decided against it. Your family may have experienced a situation that is difficult to talk about. Do you know what happens if you share these things indiscriminately? Even if you resolve that issue, even if your life reaches a much better place, people will continue to remind you of it. Weren't you getting divorced? What happened? 10 years have passed, but it's still there in that person's mind. And you have to live with people who remind you of things you don't want to remember in your life every time you encounter them. The power of mystery. There's also the strategic side of things. A person who reveals everything, hides nothing, shares all their difficulties and weaknesses with everyone, doesn't appear very powerful or very charismatic. You always need to leave people something to wonder about. Of course, I'm not suggesting you build up an aura of mystery, but there's no harm in being a little mysterious. The approval and praise trap. Constantly talking about your life, your successes, your failures, also brings with it the expectation of praise and approval. How strong you are, how much you've achieved, what hardships you've endured. When you do this frequently, it eventually turns into an addiction, and this reduces the respect people have for you, makes you dependent on others. By not sharing, you become more emotionally independent, protecting yourself against jealousy. Finally, I want to say this. Jealousy is not something to be taken lightly. A person who is jealous of you may talk behind your back, try to undermine you, sabotage your dreams, or try to ruin your relationships with the people you love most. So be careful about who you tell about your successes and good things. I don't want this to be misunderstood. Of course, there should be people with whom we share the special moments in our lives. But these people should not exceed the fingers of one hand, or even 2 or 3 people. The fewer people you tell, the less judgment you will be exposed to. Especially if you're sensitive to criticism, keeping things a bit private will seriously protect you. That's all I have to say for now, my dear. Take good care of yourself. See you soon. Take care.